Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the beginning of a new series that I'm going to call Test Flight. The idea behind this is to give me a conduit in which to explore new aircraft as they're released, or, like in the case of the UH-1 Huey that I'm flying right now, get familiar with aircraft that for whatever reason I've had for a long time but have never gotten around to flying, and getting to the point where I can do a proper tutorial or even record myself flying a mission in it. So this series is going to be part review, part tutorial, part just whatever I make it from day to day, with the premise being that I'm going to start from scratch and learn the aircraft as I go. So one video might just be me flying around like I am right now, giving impressions of aircraft handling or exploring some features that I happen to notice in the aircraft. Another video might, for example, be startup and shutdown procedures, then move on to communications and navigation equipment, move on to weapons employment after that, and just see where it takes us. The idea being to get myself to a point where I can do a proper tutorial series or fly an actual mission and employ the aircraft, like if you're familiar with the other missions that I've flown, for example in the A-10, fly the missions in these types of aircraft to that level of detail. So if you're an experienced flight simmer already and are familiar with the aircraft and the topics that I'm going to be covering in these videos, feel free to stick around anyway. Sometimes the first set of eyes on a problem can be very helpful. Or better yet, if you're brand new to flight simulators and are wondering what you can do to get more out of your experience, or are wondering, where do I start? There's so much to do. Definitely stick around. You're the person that I'm setting these videos up for. So as I learn the aircraft from scratch, let me do the hard part for you and explain as I go what I'm doing to get the aircraft in the air and to get the most out of the experience for myself. And hopefully that'll help you out as well. So folks, I'm going to go ahead and get started in the series with the UH-1 Huey and just see where this takes us. I have no idea what the upload schedule is going to be for this series. It's just going to be whenever the mood hits me to learn a different system and a different aircraft and do something a little bit different. But definitely as more aircraft start to come out, like the MiG-21 that's due out anytime now, and others that are in development, then expect a lot more of these as I, from scratch, learn how to fly the aircraft and how to run the systems. So I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be right back and get things kicked off. And I told you we were starting from the beginning, so here we are at absolute step number 1. I've got the wallpaper up, and the UH-1 Iroquois, better known as the Huey, is one of the most iconic helicopters in the world. Indispensable in the Vietnam War, the Huey continues to serve in both military and civilian roles around the globe today. DCS UH-1H features an updated model of the helicopter armed with rockets, Gatling guns, and door gunner machine guns. The simulation offers both extreme realism in its flight and systems modeling, as well as a variety of other options to reduce the learning curve for new players, including an easy flight mode. DCS UH-1H includes multiple player positions, including pilot, co-pilot, and door gunner. So, okay, especially the multiple positions. That's something that up until this was released, I could be mistaken, but I think this was the first one to include multiple positions. So pilot, co-pilot, and door gunners. We'll check that out as we get into the aircraft. Now, let me take you through and discuss what I've done up until this point and show you where I'm at experience level with the UH-1. I've come into options and I've checked some stuff out here. So really the first thing that I do when I start from scratch with a new aircraft is come to this special tab under options. I've got the UH-1 options up, and I have specific options that I can set just for the UH-1. So I have show hints at start checked, I have autopilot checked, and the autopilot in this sim is going to act as kind of like handing off the controls to the co-pilot. So it's not really an autopilot. The aircraft doesn't really have per se an autopilot capability, but it's just simulating handing off the controls to your other person. Okay, central position trimmer mode and rudder trimmer. I'll get back to you on what these exactly do. I'm somewhat familiar. I have a good idea of what happens here from my KA-50 experience, but yeah, we'll see what those do. And track eye or aiming, I would imagine that as I'm in the door gunner position, maybe moving my head will aim, and possibly the same with the sights for the pilot and co-pilot. But yeah, plenty of time for that. We'll see what that actually means later on. Now my controls, I've already assigned the proper axes to my throttle, stick, and rudder, so no more action required on that. I already have my flight controls set up. And I verified that during the intro. That was the first time that I've flown a Huey, is when I was recording the intro that you already saw. So everything is set up as far as basic flight controls. I have not gone through, however, and set up... No, I take that back. I did set up a little bit of... Okay, nothing on my collective, but I did set up some buttons on my cyclic, particularly the trimmer. I already set that up to the equivalent position on my joystick. So that's where I'm at for the control setup, and as we get into things, there will be a lot more assigning controls as we go, just as we figure out, okay, what's a priority? What do I need to actually have literally at my fingertips as I fly? Okay, so experience level in the Huey. At this point, I have watched the training missions. I have performed the cold start training, which is a step-by-step for the startup. I've watched the takeoff and the hover and takeoff demonstration. I have not done the pickup and solo practice. I have seen the landing demonstration, and I have not done the landing solo practice. I want to save the flying for a little later on and kind of do it on my own. Weapons deployment I have not looked at all, so we'll definitely be getting to that by the time that we're done here. So let me back out of here and begin with what I like to do right off the bat when I get a new aircraft, and that's simply get it into the air. I just want to get it, see how it handles, and just get the overall feel and overall character of the aircraft before I start looking in any detail at how to run the systems or how to do the startup and shutdown or any of the other really detailed procedures, because you can really fall into a trap with a simulation of this depth and just get stuck if you go straight to the cockpit and say, I'm going to start off with a cold start and run through the entire startup procedure. Then, before you know it, 2 weeks have gone by and you're still just sitting there doing the startup over and over. So I think, and this is just the way that I do it, is that it's important to get into the air before you start looking at detailed procedures. So that's why I like to, if there is not already a mission set up, like I'll come down here to UH-1, and there are 3 single missions, but nothing that is like a cold start, or just an in-air start that I know of. These might be in-air starts, but another way to do it is to come to Create Fast Mission. I've got UH-1, Country USA, starting from Airborne. So I have runway, ramp, and airborne start available. For this one, I'll go airborne, difficulty easy, just so that I don't get shot down. Theater bore caucuses, and just the other stuff is just however you want to set up. And then I come to the advanced options, and I'll just pick an interesting looking spot. I think before I was over here by Tsukimi, whatever town this is right here. And I've got it set to no attack planes, no fighters, and no helicopters on the red side. And that again is just to give me clear airspace to be able to fly and do what I want to do. So I go to generate mission, and now I hit fly. I've got the mission brief, which I don't particularly care about. I'm just going to be flying the thing around, getting a feel for it. But I will come to the mission planner and see what this has to offer, looking specifically at the weapons loadout. Now, I've already edited this a little bit for when you saw me flying around in the intro, but I've got it limited to just the door gunner positions that's set up here as Station 3 and 4. I've got nothing on my wings as far as weapons, and I've got a 80% fuel load, which keeps my gross weight down, and this should be representative of how a Huey is going to handle, all things considered, on a normal basis. Okay, so that's all I need to do there, and now I'm just going to go ahead and hit fly and get into the air. And now picking things back up in the cockpit, and like I said before, I've already gone through and assigned the joystick, throttle, and rudders that I have to the correct axis. So everything that I need to control the aircraft has already been done. If you want to see a detailed discussion of how that's done, go to my On the Range series and look for a video entitled, I think it's something like Basic Flight Control Setup in DCS World or something to that effect. And it will go through step by step what I just did to assign the correct access to my hardware to get the right response out of the aircraft. Now, on this initial flight, all that I'm really wanting to do is get an overall feel for the aircraft and just see what stands out and just get an overall impression. So right now, the first thing that I really notice is that, well, two things. Number one is that I have just great visibility out the front, but as I look around to the left and right, I have a lot of blind spots. Like this canopy rail right here is very prominent. I've got the co-pilot over there on the left, so clearing myself and visually clearing myself for a left-hand turn is going to be a challenge as we get into missions. Same thing goes for a right-hand turn, although a right-hand turn's not too bad because I can just move around and get around that blind spot. But yeah, no way I'm going to see anything directly in back of me, and looking to the left is a challenge as well. So right-hand turns in the Huey is going to be the way to go, and that's kind of opposite of what I'm used to in a fixed-wing aircraft. Just normally in a fixed-wing aircraft, it's just a little ergonomic trick of nature that makes it easier for a person in general to do left-hand turns. Whereas in the Huey, I think right-hand turns are going to be my move of choice. The other thing that stands out initially is that I have these helpers over here on the right side and up at the top left. The top left one is just showing the position of my, the absolute position of my flight controls. So right now, even though my flight controls are released, I'm not doing anything, but it's trimmed out so that my joystick is pointing forward. And I just noticed something else is that when I pick up speed, I tend to vibrate and move around a lot. So let's see, I've got a little red tick mark up there above 120 at about 125, so okay, I do get some visual and oral cues as I start getting through what I'm going to take as the max speed. But yeah, getting back to the flight controls, so I can see the position visually up here displayed on where my flight controls are, and specifically about how they're trimmed out. But controllability of the aircraft, so far I've just been kind of flying around at anywhere between 60 and 100 knots, and boy, it's just silky smooth. Very, very smooth controls. If I go into a turn, it just stays coordinated. There's hardly any rudder input, or I should say pedal. I've got to avoid calling it a rudder and a helo, or I'm going to annoy a lot of people. But yeah, the aircraft in turns stays very, very coordinated with little to no input required from the pilot. And the one thing that I do need to be sure of, especially in the Huey, is that whenever I fly a helo, I tend to fly it as if I'm flying a fixed-wing aircraft that's really, really hard to stall. That'd be a good way to describe it. But what I need to do in the Huey, especially in the Huey, is make sure that I'm taking it slow, that I'm not in a hurry to get places, and that if I want to pick up speed, that it's not just a mad dash, you know, put the cyclic all the way down and dive for the deck and get going like that, that I'm thinking ahead and planning ahead and making smooth control inputs, because I haven't really gone nuts on the controls so far, but I can see that if I do make anything other than a smooth control input, it has some drastic effects. So smooth is always the way to go whenever you're doing any kind of flying, but especially so it appears in the Huey. Okay, and I'll put in a little bit more collective to get me back into a climb. But yeah, audio cues and visual cues are just awesome. You get different sounds, and you can kind of tell, you know, how the blade is cutting through the air just by the sound. It's just, yeah, very, very cool. Okay, the other, I guess, visual cue over here to the right is I have helpers for all kinds of things. So I've got autopilot modes that are coming up here. I've got cruise status, which is kind of cool. That's normally the first thing that I would turn off, but just getting started like this, I'm going to leave it configured exactly as is until I'm absolutely sure that I don't need that information. And then as I figure out exactly what it does and what it's there for and why or why not I would need it, and I'm getting too fast. And you can see the visual cues. You get vibration visually, and also you can hear, yeah, it just doesn't sound good when you get going too fast. So that's a very, very good audio and visual cue. But yeah, very, very controllable. The other thing that's kind of standing out is just the overall character of the cockpit. You can tell it's an older aircraft. It just has, I don't have like a moving map or anything fancy, no MFDs or no glass displays. Everything is just old style gauges. Maybe with the exception of the radar altimeter, I have some LED lighting there, but I mean that is absolutely the highest tech thing that I can see in the cockpit at this point is the radar altimeter. Everything else is just your old style steam gauge, which is kind of refreshing. So there's going to be a lot of navigation work that I'm going to have to work out as we go. So figuring out the best, most effective way to navigate in this aircraft is going to be a challenge because I don't have. I mean, I have like a gyro compass of some sort, and there I go getting too fast to get. Let me reduce my cyclic reduce my collective and pull back on the cyclic to slow myself down some. Okay, and balancing trim and balancing collective to maintain airspeed is going to take some getting used to. Okay, so that seems. Let me trim out for right here. Okay, so there's just a little bit of forward stick. And you can see that before I was trimmed out so that when the controls were released that the indication of where my stick was actually at was way up here. But now I just retrimmed it using the trimmer switch and it's right here. It's where what would normally be the weapons release switch on my stick. That's the trim switch, which is going to take some getting used to, especially as we get into weapons employment. Okay, so yeah, overall controllability is just awesome so far. Now, from what I saw during the video that I watched on takeoff and landing, as you transition from forward flight to hover flight, there's a lot of stuff dynamically that goes on when it comes to trim of the aircraft. So let me just, okay, I'm at about 50 knots, and let me just reduce my airspeed and just kind of see how this feels. I know that I don't want to completely kill my airspeed because you can get in a helo into what's called a vortex ring state, where if you make a mistake and come to a hover too aggressively, it's easy to get too much of a descent. And if you're going straight down at too high a descent rate, then you're basically going to stall your rotor blades. Okay, so I've got some forward momentum going. Let me level out here. I just want to put it into a hover just to see how it feels. Okay, 20 knots. I can hear it and feel it moving around now. Okay, collective. Back up. Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about, getting into the vortex ring state. So boy, that is going to take some work and that is going to take some doing to figure that out. But hey, that's what this is all about. Okay, so that's going to do it for this first video of test flight in the UH-1H, and that was just a basic get started video just to show what I always do when I first install an aircraft that I want to get familiar with. So next time I think we're going to pick up on the ground and run through the startup and shutdown procedures, and then maybe get into the air and really figure out how to fly this thing effectively. So hey, thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.